Hello from just outside Breckenridge, Colorado. Today, going to be hiking the popular winter route of 14er Quandary Peak. For a full trail guide of the winter route of Quandary Peak, you can check the links in the description below. I always say that there are no easy 14ers. In the winter, that expression holds its weight even more. But if you do come out to Colorado or want to hike a winter 14er, Quandary Peak is definitely one of the most popular ones because of its extremely high usage, its accessibility, and of course, its relatively low avalanche risk if you're staying on the trail. After parking in the trailhead parking lot, which is accessible by all vehicles, as long as you can drive on the road to get here, you're just gonna hike up the road here a bit before taking a left and starting the true trail. If you're new to my channel, I do virtual trail guides of the 14ers. I've hiked them all. I think this is like 98 for me. Colorado hiking tips, gear reviews, and much more. So go ahead and hit that subscribe and bell button not to miss any future hike related content. The very well marked and obvious start of the trail. I'll get into gear needed for this hike a little bit later on in the video, but I wanted to touch on first clothing. So thanks to Vormi here, they are a Pagosa Springs based clothing company, soft good company that does all kinds of stuff, and they are the kings of wool. And why wool is so good on hikes, especially in the winter, is because it's very warm, it's very breathable, and it dries quickly. This hoodie here is sweet because obviously it'll give me the protection over my face if it gets super windy. It's a perfect mid layer, and for me, today might even be an outer layer. These guys have all kinds of stuff from hoodies to socks, which I'm also wearing today, to jackets. So again, based in southern Colorado, and be sure to check them out. But speaking of layering, as I mentioned, a good mid layer like this one is super key to have, especially in winter hikes, because you want to be able to shed quickly. You don't want to sweat, that's bad, and you also want to be warm, and the only way to do that is to have multiple layers. When you're hiking Quandary Peak in the winter, synthetic is better. As I mentioned, wool is a great natural fiber, so definitely be sure to be prepared today with multiple layers. If you want to check out this hoodie, in addition to all the other gear I use for this hike, in the links in the description below. Just about a mile into the hike, and you can just tell by the views around me, it is beautiful up here, but steep, about 650 feet of elevation gain, and it's not going to relent. Quandary Peak, although it's short, about 6.5 miles, is steep. Such a beautiful day. I'm actually working up a bit of a sweat. It's the end of winter here, and you can definitely tell that spring is in the air, because that sun angle is definitely higher than it used to be. About 1.3 miles into the hike here, you're gonna have a somewhat critical junction early and later in the season when there might be two paths. Over this way, you might be able to see the yellow ribbon hanging off the tree. That indicates the summer route. Essentially, that works around the ridge up that way. In the winter here, you want to take kind of a more direct route because it avoids avalanche terrain that exists kind of over here. Now, obviously today it's super obvious. Going over here isn't even an option. There's just a ski track, but in the early season, you might see kind of here and here. Be sure to always check the avalanche forecast and know the conditions. Generally speaking, earlier in the year, you can go that way too. It doesn't really matter. It's not until the snowpack gets either dangerous or much deeper where you only have one choice, that you want to head up the slopes here. As you can tell here, this is the point where you're going to be leaving tree line behind as well. So be sure to check the weather, especially if something's rolling in, and know that if it hasn't been windy to this point, there's a high probability that once you get up on the ridge there, it's going to be. Just ran into one of you guys. Sorry if I didn't catch your name, but just always great to hear how my videos help other people out. So thanks again, man. Pleasure to meet you. Back to Quandary Peak here. So I'm just working way up above tree line, and the backdrop here, man, it's just beautiful. This is like, I think my 5th time going up, 6th time, something like that, Quandary, and just, that never gets old. It's just so pretty back there. As you get above tree line here, this will maybe be the area where you're going to need some more technical gear in terms of hard goods. So let's talk about that for a second. Micro spikes, always good to have. Hiking poles, always good to have. Snowshoes, sometimes necessary, especially when there's windblown drifts. Those can be sneaky, very, very annoying. Speaking of windblown drifts, gaiters, really good to have as well. You typically won't need crampons for something like this, just because the steepness isn't that bad. Obviously it's not avalanche terrain, so it's under 30 degrees. This is also a great mountain to potentially ski or snowboard down. Again, be sure to check those conditions, and if you do that, beacon, probe, and shovel, of course. If you want to help support the channel through any of the gear I recommend for Quandary Peak in the winter, go ahead and check the links in the description below. You can also shop virtual Sherpa gear using those same description links. Luckily for me today, it is so beautiful out. I don't think I'm gonna need any of that stuff. I also have goggles in my bag, which when it's super, super windy can be an absolute lifesaver, especially if you wear contacts. But again, the weather is just gorgeous today. Two miles in here, and if you are new to hiking, new to 14ers, Quandary Peak has a lot of false summits. False summits are exactly what the name says. but mentally they can be extremely demoralizing. I've done this mountain before, so I know this and the next one and the next one are all false summits. But if you're getting to this point and you're thinking, oh man, I'm almost there, well, I hate to break it to you, but think again. You still have about 1,500 or so feet of climbing and about a mile or so of hiking while doing that. While you're working up this slope though, it is important to kind of stay more to the left or center. You don't want to go off to the right. That'll get you into a bowl. Looking back at the ascent, park somewhere kind of in there. Looking forward here to, that is another false summit right there. The short one is just shortly after that. I look over at the Decalibron there and into the beautiful gulch, and then up to the final pitch. So that's your whole route. Again, false summit up there. Just showed you the final little ridge push, and by little I mean another 1,000 feet or so. You're just about 13,000 here. This is the last major climb of Quandary Peak here in the winter, but it's a big one. Seems to be the pitch here that never ends. This last part is without a doubt the steepest. Broke out the hiking poles to help me with my leverage, but whew, I'm out of shape. This thing's killing me. But hopefully we'll get to the top for a nice sunset. Can take some beautiful pictures, refuel, bundle up, and get down here before it gets too dark. I did pick this time of day because of flying and just overall quality of video. I strategically tried to make sure that there's as least people around as possible, but I have passed about, I don't know, 10 or so coming down today. There it is. True Summit's just over there. Back into the sunlight for a bit, which is nice. The shade here, it's getting pretty cold. Quandary Peak is definitely a dog-friendly hike. I would just say that make sure your dog has lots of water in the winter. Make sure their paws are okay on cold temperatures for a very long time. This is in a national forest, so dogs don't have to be leashed here, but it's good etiquette just because there's so many people on the hike. But overall, if your dog's used to snow, this is definitely a great hike. Okay, almost walking directly into the sun here on the final ridge. And yeah, Quandary Peak summit is just right up there. All right, summit of Quandary Peak. Beautiful up here. Holy cow. Just soaking in this awesome, awesome sunlight. The views in all directions are just crazy. Just about 3 miles to the summit here, and moving at an extremely leisurely pace, about a mile per hour for me to get to the summit. Obviously that includes filming too, so I'm sure you can beat that time, but yeah, if you want to take your time, I'd give yourself a good 7 to 8 hours to do this. The way down will be much faster for me for sure. I'm gonna stay up here for a bit longer and hope that I get a colorful sunset and share it with you guys. If you're new to my channel, I do virtual trail guides here in Colorado, the 14ers, and outside of Colorado, much more. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button not to miss any future hike related content. For a full trail guide, i.e. A to Z, everything you need to know about Quandary Peak in the winter, you can check the link in the description below. As always, thank you very much for watching. I'm gonna have a nice speedy trip down here, but I will see you on the next adventure.